Hi, Pete Moore. Got a new gun fuel, not actually a gun. It's more of a external chassis system for what is probably one of the most famous 2.2 semi-auto rifles out there, the Ruger 1022. But like you've never seen it before. This is the Desert Tactical Trek 22 exoskeleton that turns the 1022 into a Bullpup semi-auto rifle. Nothing unusual. Of all the guns around there, the 1022 has been in many exterior chassis. I've seen guns looking like HK36s, Tommy gun, and even an MG42. It's not trying to be anything than what it is, because the gun does lend itself well to being bullpups, as we shall see. Length with a standard 18.5 inch Ruger barrel is 27.5 inches. That's where the barrel stops, just where my thumb is. I've got a moderator on this gun. Most people use it as a moderator. 4 is square and quite hand filling, and has 13 M-lock slots on it, so you can put rails, whatever you like, forward grips, doesn't really matter, lights and lasers. There's a long Picatinny rail here, moulded into the left hand side of the shell. It gives you optical mounting. Desert Tac offer 2 storage spaces for 10-round magazines, which is quite cute, but being a Ruger, you can also use their BX25 and BX15 high capacity magazines. They go straight in, same locking system, so they give the gun a high capacity, which I think if people use this for action type shooting and fun shooting down the club, they'll want more than a 10-round magazine. All the controls are accessible as they would be on a normal rifle, so there's no struggling for the safety catch to hold open or the mag catch. And this is the standard and very familiar 1022 bolt and hook. The butt is slightly angled back, so it sits well in your shoulder. The odd thing of this to me is the pistol grip, which is vestigial. Have you seen it here? And it's not a standalone pistol grip like you would find an AR-15 or something like that, nor is it a thumb hole. I think it's been done for 2 reasons. First, this probably makes the gun California legal, and secondly, it makes changing the big banana mags a little bit easier. Desert Tac also include a new trigger lever and a transfer bar in here. Now all bullpup type guns, because they put the trigger almost 9-10 inches forward of where the trigger would be on the action, you need to link the two together. And the problem with having a linkage to a trigger is, if you've got a heavy trigger, then it makes it worse, because you're pushing a mechanical linkage, which does reduce the efficiency. But it's a blowback system, which means that the pressure of the gas in the chamber in the barrel physically pushes the bolt back to eject the fired case, reload the new one. And in doing so, there's a little bit of gas comes out the ejection port, and little bits of debris sometimes from the cartridge, and it's just a symptom of any 2.2 semi-automatic rifle it happens. But with a Bullpup, it's a little bit exacerbated because your head is right next to them. If you have a moderator on, that increases the back pressure ever so slightly, so you might get a tad more coming out, but without the moderator on, then it's a lot less. But that's just the way it is. But honestly, I've put a good few rounds through this today, and I haven't had an issue with it. The other thing to consider, which is very important from the safety point of view, again, peculiar to bullpups, is the fact that because the rifle's so short, and this is an 18.5 inch barrel in here, you wouldn't think to look at it, your hand can very easily slide forward and go off the end of the forend, and obviously you can see where it is. You could get burnt or whatever. Now, Desert Tac have put a little tiny sort of, should we say, shoulder or lip in here to stop it happening, but it is very, very shallow, and I found that without any effort you can slide your hand forward. So there's 2 options here. One is to fit a moderator, because that means if your hand does move forward, then it'll just slide onto the moderator, which is so you're safe as houses with it. But the other one that I would think would do would be to fit a small section of Picatinny rail on one of these M-locks and put a vertical pistol grip or an angled foregrip on it, like that, which I think is better, but that's just worth thinking about. Trigger on this gun, as I said before, Desert Tac said that their trigger linkage is supposed to reduce the pull by about 2.5 pounds, and I've never ever seen a rimfire type bullpup that's ever had a decent trigger on it. I really haven't. They're always heavy and graunchy and long, and they do nothing for accuracy. However, in fairness, I took the barrel action out of stock and I put my gauge over the trigger and it was breaking at, call it 4.5 pounds roughly, and then I put it all back together again and did the same thing with it all linked up, and I have to say it didn't make any difference to the pull at all, and the pull for a bullpup I thought was very, very acceptable. Firm, a little bit long, but that's almost unavoidable, but it broke quite easily. But you do have to get your head round using a heavy trigger that's perhaps not the same as something like on a Ruger M77 bolt action, where the triggers can be as sweet as you like. So that's really down to you pick the system, then you have to roll with the system. But it's not quite as handy to use as a normal rifle, because this vestigial pistol grip is obviously, that's how they make it. But it doesn't quite give the same sort of handling feel. But again, that's something, if you want a bullpup, then you get used to it. And that's the other thing I said before. Hand on here, you can shoot it with your thumb forward, or you can just get your thumb up like that. I found that's slightly more comfortable, but again, a lot of these things on what is an unconventional firearm can be deal breakers for the average buyer, so you need to think very hard about what you're getting and what is given to you and what is not. Okay, enough of my waffle. Got a 15 round clip here, which is pretty good. So mag in, safety catch is there, cross bolt. It would have been nice if they'd put a safety catch up there too, but they didn't. Anyway, enough of that. Didn't count, bad meat. That ran okay, as you can see, functioned. I felt a tiny bit of gas coming on my wrist, but that's not a real big issue. So overall, this is very unconventional, and I actually quite like it. I really do. I don't think I haven't got a 1022. I've got my own rimfire rifles. It's not just about that. I can see people down your local club saying, "Oh, I want something good for club competition. You know, a bit of action, a bit of practical type shooting, nice and short, handy and light." I can see people also thinking, "This is lovely and short. Even with the moddy on, it'll make a great truck gun for rabbits," which it certainly would do. And on that point, accuracy wise, I used 2 loads with this. The first was the Lapua Midas Plus, which is a 40 grain round nose lead target round, and that was shooting at 50 yards, 0.9 something of an inch. I can't remember. I'll have to look at my book, but it's sub 1 inch. Which I thought, for a semi-auto, which don't have a massive rep for accuracy compared to a bolt gun. I mean, they're not bad, but a bolt gun can do a cool half-inch out retrying, but it's a different system. And I thought that was very impressive. However, I also tried some Magtech hollow point high velocity, which a lot of people would favour some sort of high velocity round for 2.2 to make it work. Shot them like that, but it shot the Midas in an inch. And if I was running club competitions, then I'd find something like the Midas to use, because that is not bad. So well, there it is. You can get these as a kit, full instructions, all the bits you need inside it to convert your own 1022, or you can speak to your dealer and they'll speak to Viking. The Viking will supply the complete rifle. It comes with a standard barrel, iron sights you can take off. You get one 10 round mag with the gun, and then the world's your oyster. It's up to you. On the point of the scope, you probably noticed I've got a cantilever mount here. It's a Vortex one, and because everything is shifted forward, so you don't have the scope sitting over the action, because you can't. So you've got to think about how it's mounted. That's why you get this long Picatinny rail with a rifle as well. And this mount positions the scope where you really need it to. It's a little bit unconventional, but it certainly works. You could also put a red dot on this, and I've even put iron sights on it. I've got a sort of clip-on AR-15 sights, and they fit on this quite nicely. Red dot, I say, but you need to get some sort of comb, some sort of razor block. Sports Match do a lot of blocks, and they'll do something that will convert sort of Picatinny to a clamp, so you can fit a red dot on top. But it's an interesting, unusual rifle. I don't know how it'll do in the UK. It's done quite well in America from what I can make out from looking at the videos and things. But there it is, the Desert Tech Trek 22 from Viking Arms. If you want something a little bit different and certainly a bit cooler, it's well worth a look. It's Pete Moore signing off. I'll catch you again soon.